Akhenaten, also known as Amenhotep IV, was a pharaoh from ancient Egypt's 18th dynasty, reigning from approximately 1353 to 1334 BC. He was known in Egyptian history for his eccentric personality and tumultuous role, often referred to in antiquity as the Mad Pharaoh. Akhenaten was the son of Pharaoh Amenhotep III and Queen Tai. A member of the royal family, he was brought up in the lavish palaces and temples of ancient Egypt, in a privileged and powerful milieu. As crown prince, Akhenaten was taught religion, literature, art, history, mathematics, as well as military and administrative skills. This education prepared the prince for his future role as pharaoh. Once Akhenaten reached a certain age, he married Nefertiti, a woman who would become one of ancient Egypt's most famous queens. She gave birth to many of Akhenaten's daughters and one son, who would go on to become the famous pharaoh Tutankhamun. The couple were keen for their family's image to be eternalized in paintings and reliefs, which certainly went against the customs of Egyptian royalty at the time. Akhenaten's father, the pharaoh Amenhotep III, reigned during a long and mostly peaceful period, featuring diplomatic relations with neighboring nations, architectural developments, and financial stability. Following the death of his father, Akhenaten assumed the Egyptian throne in 1353 BC. In his 5th year as pharaoh, Akhenaten officially switched his birth name from Amenhotep IV to the one that made him famous, Akhenaten, meaning he who is effective to Aten. Akhenaten may have been introduced to the idea of a monotheistic religion during his childhood and adolescence, i.e. the belief in a single creator god. Not long after becoming pharaoh, Akhenaten took up the cult of the god Aten, said to be an aspect of the sun god, higher than the ancient god Ra of the Egyptian pantheon. Nonetheless, Akhenaten's zeal for the cult of Aten grew stronger, and he progressively sidelined other deities, exalting Aten as the only supreme god. Egypt was under the strong sway of the Temple of Amun priesthood during Akhenaten's reign, who had amassed a great deal of power and wealth over time. The Temple of Amun at Karnak, in the city of Thebes, Egypt's capital at the time, was the Egyptian people's most powerful religious center. With extensive territories and resources under their control, Amun's priestly class had both political and religious power, and were extremely dissatisfied with the religious reforms that Akhenaten had planned. Akhenaten was directly defying Amun's powerful priestly hierarchy by promoting the cult of the god of Aten and rejecting Egypt's traditional polytheistic religion and its other deities. He took steps to reduce the priests' power and influence, which included closing temples devoted to traditional gods and diverting religious resources and tributes to the cult of Aten. One of Akhenaten's most radical measures was to set up a new capital called Akhetaten. This change removed the center of royal power from the jurisdiction of the Amun priests in Thebes and solidified the new religious order. Marginalizing the Amun priests and dismissing traditional religious practices altered artistic depictions, language, and even aspects of the Egyptian population's daily life. Amun's priesthood tried to hide the statues and sacred texts from the palace guards, sent to crack down on them in response to the relentless religious persecution ordered by the pharaoh. Akhenaten and Nefertiti declared themselves to be deities on earth and appointed new priests to the temples, or simply forced those who worshipped Amun to serve the new monotheistic religion. Both Akhenaten and Nefertiti insisted on having their names worshipped and prayed to. Akhenaten also ignored much of Egypt's political issues and reportedly paid little heed to anything that went on outside the walls of his palace. Egypt's economy started to falter. Crime and corruption rose, and the population feared that their pharaoh was either insane or possessed by an evil spirit. Akhenaten ruled for around 17 years. He probably passed away around the year 1334 BC, but the exact date is unclear. Akhenaten's exact cause of death is unknown and is regarded as one of the many enigmas of Egyptian history. There are many theories about Akhenaten's death. Some suggest that he may have been deposed or even murdered, perhaps because of widespread discontent among the population with his radical religious policies. Egypt went through a transitional and unstable period after Akhenaten's death. His immediate successors sought to repair the damage caused by the radical religious and political reforms he had put in place. Polytheistic religious practices gradually returned to Egypt. The cult of the god Aten was discontinued. The construction of the city of Akhetaten was phased out, and the power and influence of the Amun priests in Thebes was restored. This concludes the story of Akhenaten, the pharaoh who dreamed of becoming a god.